But back to your investing. So what's your thought? I mean, I'm more curious and asking more. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what I would do in your situation. So, I mean, you're continuing to see your revenue decline. You used to be able to siphon away a decent chunk of change, but now your kind of income stream is drying up, but you still want to make sure that you're able to get investing. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a good jumping off point. So there's like a triforker, I guess, Trident. There we go, Trident in the road. I could go full cash flow. Like, like I know people rag on them, but there are some good BDCs. They cash flow well. You're kind of sacrificing growth definitely for that. Like, I mean, the year-to-day returns usually on like the ignoring tax, the 9 to 10% range. S&P does obviously above that. I could, it's risky. I could also double down on like the hyper speculative biotech stuff. Like I've had a string of wins, like mergers and acquisitions. Those often 2x, sometimes even 5x. And if you know what you're doing, it's really crazy. Don't recommend it for most people. In fact, don't copy me, don't follow me. I make YouTube videos. I don't know what I'm talking about, everyone, so don't listen to me. And then finally too is that, I guess trying to increase the income side somehow, but I definitely feel limited by my skill set.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, yeah, I mean, I honestly hope that the finance aspect thing works for you. I mean, like you said, you've done the gaming aspect, you've done a bunch of different ones, so hopefully this one's able to work, and it has a decent CPM to it as well. So you need you need a lot less folks, and even someone that just, I don't know if the other guys that want to chirp in, a lot of these guys just hit 1,000 subs themselves, so they probably are seeing their first couple paydays themselves, but even some of the folks that I've talked to that are at 1,200 subscribers, they're making $13, $14 per CPM, and I'm just like, that's astonishing. I mean, there's some of my videos that I've seen average like $30 a CPM.
Wow.
But
I've never seen that.
I have another stupid question for you, and then Jesus, I keep deviating from the topic of wanting to get to your portfolio and diving deep into that. But
sure.
Do you ever notice? And I'm not sure for you, do you ever notice that the first 1 or 2 days your CPM is a lot lower and then it kind of builds over time, or is that just me?
I don't track the daily CPM. Do you mean revenue or actually CPM?
CPM.
Yeah, I don't track that.
Okay, because what will end up happening is like it's $8 or $9 the first day, $12 to $13, and then it kind of builds up to either 15 or sometimes up to 20.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. I think you're an analytical guy. You dive in deep, but sometimes sometimes it's extraneous information. Even if there were a pattern to it, I mean, how much could you realistically micromanage that to see a gain? Yeah. Maybe you could. You're an engineer, I guess. Yeah. I don't really pay attention to that though. I care more about content strategy, how it appears, like that sort of thing, like the qualitative stuff.
No, and I think that focusing on that sort of stuff is, I don't want to say it's detrimental, but you're right. I mean, I could focus my mental capacity on things that are more important, like getting the content.
All of that is relevant at the end of the day. Is if you don't have a video hitting people's homepages, all the stats in the world aren't going to drive people to your channel. You have to have something for people to watch, and it has to be good. I think content strategy is the most important.
So I'm curious what is your, because you were talking about the Trident and then we kind of got off topic again. So your thought is, hopefully, are you trying to go all in on the finance aspect of the YouTube aspect so you can kind of get the income stream going again? Or
I could do it again, man, but you know how it is. I can tell you're out here. I hate the word hustle, but that's what people use. You're out here. I can tell you're grinding it. You're hitting it, and getting a channel started, it's like climbing Mount Everest. And I've done it already 3 or 4 times. Eventually, you get tired starting over.
For sure.
But I'm 27, right? So I probably could pivot if I retrain something, but the window on that is definitely closing. Because as you get older, you don't absorb information as well. You're not as mentally flexible. I'm sure you know how that is.
Now I'm curious. So what's the short-term plan? I mean, obviously you're going to keep trying to ride the YouTube thing, but I mean, are you going to, like you said, you could try to retrain, or so are you going to just try to hustle and get the channel up and going so you can continue to add to the portfolio? Or
I'm in the midst of all 3. I think I'll try another one. There's still a few things I can try. I could go casino mode on some of the other investments and boom my way out of it. I won't lie and say I'm not thinking about it. I'm not. I won't lie. I am thinking about it. I know it's dumb, but and then, shoot, what was the other one? I don't remember. But yeah, I'm considering all three. Kind of potentially even doing all three at the same time. But until one yields results, I can't really say. You know.
So what brought you originally to South Korea? Was it originally the teaching aspect of things, and then you kind of got started on YouTube, and then you kind of just
Yeah, I guess that's more of like a life philosophy thing. So I don't teach at the moment. I don't have any plans to do that. So when my YouTube stuff blew up, I reached the point where I was pretty comfortable and I wouldn't really have to worry. So then I became more concerned with quality of life things. And so one of my bucket list items has been to learn a language that's extremely difficult, and Korean definitely is up there. I think it's a category 3 on the I think the State Department, how they classify languages. It's one of the hardest. So I guess you can call it personal fulfillment. And I actually did decide. Everyone always says, "Oh, I didn't spend my 20s well enough. Oh, I delayed gratifications too long." I decided to make the most of my time when I was young.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, you're making decent amount of money.
It could blow up in my face someday later too. You never know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that happens to a lot of YouTubers. I mean, I was looking at Logan Paul. He's making obviously a crap ton of money from YouTube.
Yeah, he's not a good example. There are graveyards with gaming channels that had their time in the sun for a year. They got out of the workforce, and it did not end up well for them.
Yeah, so I'm sure he's but that could have easily. I mean, he's bringing his way back now with the podcasts and stuff like that. But I mean, in 2017, it easily could have gone the other way, like you mentioned.
Hey, props to him, man. He's persistent, right? So he actually was on Vine originally, if you remember. Yeah. Vine died hard. What if he never came back? You know?
And there are a lot of Viners that never ended up making it.
Exactly. And every time you start over, you run that risk.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that. But he had a really good. So FouseyTube did a Cribs video with him, and he's got a pretty cool setup now because obviously he's doing podcasts. He's living content creation, which is interesting. But anyway, enough about that. I'm curious. Do you want to continue to talk about dividends or your portfolio, or there seems to be a lot of content creators in the stream that would love to continue to skyrocket back? I'm like looking, and there's stuff all the way back from like half an hour ago that people are like chirping up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't see the chat. If you could relay some of them, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. I'm more than happy to like let them keep building.
But actually, let's do like a series of questions at the end. I do actually want to talk about the specifics because it is possible I could more effectively manage my dividends.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what kind of questions you have. I'd love to answer, but I feel like I'm just like trying to think what I would do as like a declining revenue stream, trying to build a portfolio. I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's down to two things. Like, so I'm not going to pretend I'm a genius and I understand how many burgers McDonald's is going to sell the next year. I mean, McDonald's, if you're to compare it to GDP, it's a small country, right? And you don't, not even a small country, actually, probably a decent sized one. I don't know what's going to happen with that. So I usually stick with ETFs. I know I'm probably losing out on probably a basis point, half a basis point on like if I were to micromanage it, but that's not for me. I'm already have my fingers in so many pies. So I feel like, I guess a 4.34% yield, that's not too bad, right?
No, it's not, especially average, because that obviously means like you mentioned, you probably have some closed-end funds, and then you got
exactly.
So in that respect, I mean, 4%. With where
take
you're
off 2 for inflation, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but at the moment you need the cash now, so you don't really have to worry about the inflation, right? And long term, I agree with you though. So long term growing that, I agree, you have to take off the 2%. But when you're using the cash now, you don't have to really worry about the inflation. So I don't know. I mean, you could, like you said earlier, I mean, you could definitely like go the high risk route, 8 to 10% yielding companies, and then you're going to be getting, the $1,000 a month you need from the portfolio size you have.
I have some of a background in BDCs. In fact, I've played some of the preferreds pretty well, and you can beat people out there because the volume is so low.
But at the same time, like you said, like, and that's a strategy that I plan to deploy in my personal strategy is
amping up the cash flow.
Yeah, amp up the cash flow now because I'm young. I can take the risk. And once I get to the point where I become financially independent, it becomes more of the conservation strategy for me, whether that's, siphoning off money from the dividend portfolio to invest in real estate or another business.
I've considered real estate as well.
Yeah, and so that's the thought, is it's like, at the moment, the goal for me is to chase the financially free aspect of things. And as I get more financially free and the income continues to grow, because it will, just based off of like generally speaking, the dividend growth that I've seen over the past couple of years. Granted, it might take a dip if we have a recession in a year or two, but then it'll continue to grow as the recession kind of ends and we go back into a expansion business cycle again. But the thought would be is, as I get older, more financially free, once I hit my $50,000 US a year target, that I can start backing off on the higher dividends. I think for me,
interesting. I thought it would be the opposite.
No, I mean, I wouldn't back off like completely on the dividends, but I'd be backing off on the yield. So you're saying if I become more financially free, why wouldn't I up the yield? Because I could get more risky?
No, I mean, I'm mainly factoring in your age. It actually, I know, like that's part of why I don't do it, because I think that cash flowing now in exchange for future gains or growth when time is on my side, I don't like that, because I feel like I'm mortgaging my future.
Yeah, no, it makes no. I can 100% understand that as well, because I think a lot of people, when they look at my portfolio, they're like, "Why are you investing in companies that on average are yielding you between 4 and 5%?" I mean, that at someone that's 28 doesn't make sense. You'd expect me to be investing in things like Apple, Google, Amazon.
Oh, don't take me for a growth investor. I don't necessarily think you were saying that, but yeah, like for me, it has to have a dividend.
Yeah.
It changes the psychology entirely.
Yeah. So, yeah, interesting enough. I mean, it's very interesting. I see the predicament that you're at, and I've had people on my channel comment before, like, why is your dividend so low? I remember specifically somebody, I'm going to mess up the words, but I have a $75,000 portfolio and I'm making more than you are in dividends, and you have, I guess the dividend.
Yeah, you could for like a year-to-date yield of like 5%. Like yeah, you could. You're just cash flowing the basis. That's it.
The dividend aspect of my portfolio is like 3 times that. It's probably around 250 or so, and then I have the 401k, which I have no idea what kind of dividends come from that, but because I can't track it. But yeah, I mean, you could do that. I've heard people investing in stuff that 20% yield, and I'm just like,
highest I'd go is 10. There's some people like to rag on BDCs, but there are some that hold up all right.
Yeah, and that's why I like Main Street Capital. Actually, they invest.
Yeah, me too.
They have a pretty good business model. They look for small to medium sized companies, and they've done well, respectively, since 2012. So hopefully the success continues. But they had good success before they went public as well. So